The prosecution and the
Vamos a ver
defense are
qué-
both in position. The trial shall now begin.
Oh, come on, Nervylette. There's no need to repeat all the unimportant legalese. Just fast forward to the part where the prosecution lays out my offenses. As the defendant and the lead actress of
¿Por qué
this
estamos en Ace
performance,
Attorney?
I
Ya sé, es,
still
lo es
haven't
también
even
lo
been
mismo que
informed
yo
of my
pensé cuando estábamos en la
supposed
primera
guilt in
parte
all of this.
de Fontaine,
Of course,
juzgando
it
gente.
is only natural for humans to struggle to understand the actions of a god. However, you will need more than that to convict me of a crime.
That's true, but my charge here is unrelated to your conduct as an Archon. Instead, I would like to charge you as a fraud who's never been the Archon in the first place.
Wait, what was that? Lady Furina's a fraud?
Hey, I came here thinking that we were going to try the Hydro Archon for forsaking her duty, but did I hear that right? She's not our Archon at all?
Charge accepted. Lady Furina, do you plead guilty to the charge?
Para que se trabe eso significa que es cierto.
Lady Furina,
I plead not guilty. How can I be guilty? There is no way that I, Focalor, otherwise known as Furina de Fontaine, a member of the Seven and the Regina of all waters, kindreds, peoples, and laws of Fontaine, could be anything other than your true Archon.
Yeah. Even though Lady Furina can be rather eccentric, isn't it going too far to doubt her very identity?
Yeah, I've never questioned her identity either. Sure, Lady Furina can be super irresponsible, but what grounds does that prosecutor have to make such a huge claim?
Pues hasta Venti tiene, creo que tiene mejores, ha hecho mejor su responsabilidad de arconte que esta mujer. Yo sigo pensando que ella no es un arconte. Creo que me acabas de spoilear.
See? Even the Oratrice has decided to show me its favor. Are you sure you want to commit to a charge that will never be upheld? If you wish to drop the case, I can promise you as the God of Justice that you will not have to face trial for making a false accusation. We will treat everything that's happened as a dramatic spectacle and move on with our lives.
Un momento.
What do you say to that?
¿Movieron el trono de Furina hasta acá? Ese es el trono de Furina, ¿no?
An argument with near impossible odds, huh? We have to not only refute Furina's claims, but also overturn the long-held beliefs of the people.
La gente cree que eres su arconte porque lo han creído así desde hace tiempo. El pueblo se considera su arconte porque ha sido su creencia.
Well, I tried to give you the chance to surrender.
Si eso que se va a su muerte para dejarme echarme a los otros. Hasta Soli, exacto.
If you believe I'm not
porque
the
quería ya sus
Archon,
vacaciones
then
permanentes.
What manner of being do you think I am?
Fingió su muerte y creó, recordemos que creó una, que ha creado una crisis económica mundial porque era el único que podía hacer dinero. Recordemos eso, por favor.
And if I was not the Archon, then how did I manage to live for over 500 years?
Tengo que pensar con cuidado. ¿Qué hace Furina tan especial? ¿Qué? Furina tan especial. Ni siquiera Furina sabía por qué. ¿Por qué había podido Furina vivir tanto tiempo a pesar de ser humana? Porque tal vez tiene alguna especie de maldición. Ya he vivido 500 años sin usar arconte. Sí, pero es la mano derecha del arconte, ¿no?
And second of all, even if that wasn't the case, there could be other ways to extend your life.
Como por ejemplo una maldición.
Who gave you that idea? Was it the knave? You'd sink so low as to use a harbinger's words against me.
No importa quién lo haya
A
dicho.
curse. I once thought it possible that the aura of an Archon might naturally resemble a type of curse.
¿Y qué tal si capaz si también todos los arcontes tienen ese tipo de maldición?
But in light of this claim, perhaps what I sensed was not
Y eso
your
hace que
divinity.
sean sensibles a la... ¿Cómo se le dice a esto? A la erosión.
Nuevo had sensed it too, huh?
Por eso, Furina, eres una humana con una maldición. Así pues, Furina, ¿es posible que seas humana maldita? Una humana maldita.
Furina is actually a human?
Well, it is true that it's extremely difficult to tell humans and gods apart just by looking at them. It's not impossible.
Vaya, vaya, Tacubaya.
Well, don't start celebrating too early now. Even if I have been carrying a curse like you said, how does that prove that I am merely a human being? Besides, everyone knows that the main difference between a human and a god is the possession of authority. Gods can do what humans cannot. That's why they're worshipped as gods. For centuries, manifestations of my authority have served the nation of Fontaine. One need only to turn their eyes towards the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinal in this very opera house, or consider the endemnitium that is used in every aspect of life.
Un momento, está demostrando que Furina no controla la analizadora. La sentencia de Nobile.
You tried to reference the Oratrice, but weren't you as confused as all the rest of us when the Oratrice declared Child to be guilty without any proof? Otherwise, you should have come up with a good explanation for that by now.
Didn't I make myself clear at the time? The decisions of the gods are naturally difficult for humans to comprehend.
Claro que que lo que estás diciendo, ¿no? De que los arcontes son capaces de hacer cosas que los humanos no pueden. Por eso son alabados como dioses. Y Kazuha parándose una tajada a la diosa Electro. ¿Qué? ¿Que no podemos hacer lo mismo que ustedes? Sí, es cierto.
Lady Furina, I believe a reminder of your current circumstances is in order. While the court is in session, the principles of justice and the law must come before all else. While you are an Archon, you are also first and foremost the defendant in this trial.
La verdad me parece irónico que hayan movido el trono de Furina hasta acá.
You will prove yourself unable to defend against the prosecution's charges
¿Eso estaba ahí
if you
desde antes?
continue to withhold vital information against the rules of the court.
I never thought you'd use that kind of rhetoric against me.
That was no trick of rhetoric, Lady Furina. I've merely reiterated the rules of the court. Rules that all should respect and follow.
So, you neither knew why Child was declared guilty, nor did you understand the structure and operations of the Oratrice. Instead of having been created by you, the manifestations of authority you mentioned have been made by the real Hydro Archon, haven't they?
The real Hydro Archon. Well, now you're really losing me. It is true that I did not know why the Oratrice gave out a guilty verdict that day. But the Oratrice handed out that verdict unilaterally, and it has been operating independently ever since it was first created. You can't argue that just because a divine creation is flawed, that the god behind it must also be no god at all.
A pesar, al fin y al cabo dicen de que la creación puede llegar a superar a su creador.
She's still throwing out all
¿No?
kinds of excuses.
Algo así similar como
Seems like
el...
she's confident that we won't
el
be
estudiante
able to
supera al
produce
maestro.
proof that she has no power over the Oratrice.
Dejemos a un lado el asunto de las hazañas. ¿Podrías mostrarnos tu poder? Bien, entonces podrías hacer una demostración de tu poder divino.
My power as an Archon. There are many ordinary citizens in the audience. How can I just carelessly demonstrate the formidable
Dilo
power
cargando
of
él
an
solo todo el
Archon?
destino de Monstad, enfrentando todo solo a una orden del abismo. Dilo, ¿qué?
If that poses a concern, I'm prepared to extend my protection to the audience.
You don't need to go that far.
Muéstranos previamente cómo usas el elemento hidro. Hasta un humano con visión podría mostrar su poder sin problema. Jeez. Hola, Celine.
Aren't you the Hydro Archon? Or is it that you can't even wield the power of Hydro, much less the authority of a god?
Indemnitium! Yes! It's all because of Indemnitium! All Archons derive their power from the faith of the people, and I've converted the people's faith in justice into Indemnitium! Thus did I give up all of my divine power to provide everyone with energy for their daily lives. Have you ever seen a more magnanimous god?
Es una mentira.
Isn't that a huge stretch?
Yeah, no matter how generous an Archon can be, how could they give up all their power? Can a god with no power even still be called a god?
Ooh.
It seems like nobody's buying Furina's excuse.
Hey, come now, everyone. Please don't stare at me as if I was a liar. I'm still the same Furina you knew, right? The one that you loved. Shouldn't you want to believe in me?
Ay, diablos, pobrecita mujer.
Please? You've got to believe me.
If what the prosecutor said is true, she really has committed a grave offense.
Did she deceive all of us? And all of our parents and grandparents too? And all of our ancestors? Ever since they were born?
Literal sacó con la orden de Axis.
Enough! That's enough. Tell me then, if I'm not the real Hydro Archon, then who is?
Lo que dijo Laini, de que cuando trató de entrar al Oratriz, Veratriz, Catinal, Maquine, esa cosa, ok. Escuchó a que había alguien.
If you have no evidence of another Hydro Archon's existence, nor can you find
no sé qué dice, pero miente.
back up their claim to be such, then what grounds have you to say that I'm not actually the real deal?
Wow, she came up with yet another argument. How can we refute her now? Seems like she really doesn't want to give up.
Aunque no tengamos pruebas de que no es un arconte, al menos podemos demostrar que es humana. Si Furina es humana, entonces... que Furina es humana. Está relacionado. ¿Qué pruebas? Aunque posteriormente fue la acusación de su verdadera identidad como agente... No. What the fuck? La queda al mar de Navia mientras se explora... pero los miembros no se disolvió. Excuse me, ¿sería por Neuvillet?
That doesn't sound
Sí,
right.
no, yo tampoco. ¿Qué? Ballena en el sueño, no. La verdad, resulta que la gente puede ser disuelta en agua de primigenio. Sería, es que yo digo que es lo de Laini. No, tampoco. Pero si no es ese, entonces. ¿Eso?
That all Fontanians can dissolve in water from the primordial sea. And that means...
Since you insist on claiming to be a god and not a human, then there's a method that you can use right here and now to eliminate all suspicions of you being the latter.
Miss Navia, please apply to serve as a temporary attorney for the prosecution before addressing the court. Though you act in partnership with the prosecutor, you must still adhere to proper procedure.
Ya lo hiciste 2 veces, my friend. No lo intentes hacer una tercera vez. Te estoy dando un aviso. Está cansado de que le interrumpa cada rato sus
I
juicios.
swear this really will be the last time that I'll speak out of turn. Now, I've brought some seawater from
Y
Poisson.
durante el resto del juicio ves a Navia levantando la mano como la típica chica inteligente del salón.
Many lives.
Pobrecita.
Including those of some of my closest friends. So, Miss Furina, would you dare to touch some of this seawater?
Ah, sí, todos los regalos que dio Celins. Buenísima la Celins.
If we are to believe that you are indeed the real Hydro Archon, touching this seawater would have no effect on you. All it should do is strengthen your case. But if you don't dare to touch it, then we would have basically proved the reverse. Oh, and I must remind you that after the disaster at Poisson, nobody wants to see any more people dissolve. I do hope you'll act prudently and choose the simpler path of admitting guilt.
Navia from the Spina di Rasula. The Spina has governed Poisson for many years. I guess her suggestion is valid.
If Lady Furina is indeed just a human, she's probably Fontanian like all the rest of us.
Claro.
Would she really dare to try?
Furina?
Lady Furina, this test has been unilaterally proposed by the prosecution. As it falls outside the realm of standard court proceedings, you possess the right to decline participation.
En pocas palabras, si te mueres es humana, si sobrevives eres Dios. Tiene sentido.
Well, of course he had to tell her that. But refusing to participate is basically the same as a confession of guilt.
She's just staring at the water without saying a single word. It really does seem like she's quite terrified of it.
What's going on?
I hope sí.
Is she really planning to... that's not what we thought she would...
Due to the inherent risk of the test, Lady Furina, you may...
Es bruja, no solo una forma de saberlo. Jeez, what?
Hey!
¿Lo ha hecho?
I'm fine! Look at me, everyone! My hand is still here!
A ver, lo que pasa es que lo tocaste con con guantes, ¿no es cierto? Quítese el guante, vuelve a hacer.
I really am your Archon! I'm nothing like a normal human who would fall apart as soon as they touch this water! Really? Was this not the most obvious thing in the world?
Miss Siegewin? If you're present, Miss Siegewin, please come forward and attend to the defendant.
Siegewin? Don't be nervous. It'll just take a few seconds. Let me see. That should be enough.
Please announce the results of your evaluation to the court, Miss Siegewin.
As everyone doubtlessly saw, Miss Furina was displaying symptoms of hyperventilation and flushed skin. These indicate that she was experiencing the adverse effects of exposure to primordial seawater. The extent to which she was affected is the same as other humans when exposed to primordial seawater of a similar concentration.
Thank you, Miss Siegewin. Lady Furina, you may return to the defendant's stand.
Pero que se quite el guante.
Oh, wait.
Ya sé.
What did she just say? I didn't get dissolved. Shouldn't that be enough to prove my innocence?
Pero está en menor cantidad, entonces en menor cantidad no te puede afectar en tanta
Well, considering
intensidad.
your tendency to run from your problems, we did originally prepare a direct sample of the seawater around Poisson. However, after extensive discussion, we exchanged it for a sample that is not concentrated enough to dissolve an actual human. After all, on the off chance that something entirely unexpected might occur, we don't want anyone else to lose their life to the sea.
Yeah, so out of regard for Furina's life, you secured a low-concentration sample and asked a head nurse to serve as an expert witness. It's a great thing that the direct sample wasn't actually used. Furina could have...
I can't believe... You...
Otra trampita, lo siento, Furina. ¿Qué está pasando? Es imposible que Furina no supiera las consecuencias de tocar el agua. No parece ella misma. ¿Acaso defender su identidad como arcante es aún más importante que su propia vida? A lo mejor hace tiempo que se ha rendido.
Listen to me, everyone. Please don't give me such cold and disdainful looks. What happened just now didn't prove a single thing.
Mientras tanto, el Tartas sigue dentro del agua y no le hemos salvado al pobrecito.
Think about it.
Está bien. Está que una ballena le está dando respiración de boca. Ay, no, pobrecito de Tartalia. Eso es cierto, o sea, ¿ya cuánto tiempo lleva el Tartalia desaparecido dentro del agua?
Also, if I was really just a human, why would I dare to just put my hand in that kind of water?
Chin.
Please, anyone, just listen to me. I swear, I really am your Archon.
En serio, chistoso, pero sí es muy de humor negro. A ver, dilo. ¡Diablos! Desamparada la pobre mujer.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone. The odds are just too stacked against her now.
Okay.
With all the things that have been said, Paimon doesn't think there's any way left for Furina to win.
I believe the time for arguments and presentation of evidence has come to an end. If there are no objections, we will move on to the final judgment.
Sí sería pasarse, no, bueno. Exacto.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone. She's too stacked against her now.
Diablos. Furina trató de proteger su estatus de arconte. Furina. ¡Ah! Exacto.
In my capacity as Chief Justice, I shall now render judgment on Furina's misrepresentation of herself as the Archon of Fontaine. As a human who knowingly deceived her fellow citizens, Furina is guilty.
Pero entonces Fontaine no ha tenido arconte desde hace varios siglos ya. Llorando en su trono.
We shall now turn to the oratrice mécanique d'analyse cardinale to render the final verdict on the charges.
Y sale inocente, ¿te imaginas?
According to the judgment of the oratrice mécanique d'analyse cardinale, Furina is
inocente.
Well, what's wrong? What's the oratrice's verdict?
La analizadora la ha declarado inocente.
No, the oratrice also displays a guilty verdict.
¿Estás mintiendo, Nevilette?
Isn't that correct then?
Los demás arcontes que son arcontes públicos o fieles a la muerte.
However, the exact wording of the verdict is thus: the Hydro Archon, guilty.
Arconte hidro culpable, no Furina.
To be punished via the death sentence.
What?
The death sentence?
That's actually one of the available sentences? I've always thought that it was just a myth.
The one and only time the death sentence has been handed out at the court, and it's been given to the very person we've worshipped as the god of justice? What an unexpected twist.
Furina's been sentenced to death by the oratrice? We just wanted to use the trial to show her the seriousness.
Franceses tenían que ser. ¿Ves por qué digo que es muy María Antonieta?
This outcome is indeed quite strange. According to Fontaine's current definitions of justice, as well as its recommendations for criminal sentences. Is this sentence really appropriate for the crimes that have been committed?
Yeah, even Vache wasn't sentenced to death by the Oratrice. You know, the real evil mastermind behind the serial disappearances case.
Hay algo más raro, el veredicto dice Arconte Hidro, no Furina.
Indeed. Not only is Furina's sentence overly excessive, the very point of our trial today was also to prove that Furina has never been the Hydro Archon in the first place.
La verdad es que sí está extremadamente raro. A ver si el juicio era... Es que sí.
Now, the Oratrice seems to have deliberately invoked the title of the Hydro Archon. What does this mean?